What's the stupidest real men don't underscore 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 you've ever heard? When I was 15, this other boy called me gay and not a real man because I didn't want to sit down next to him and jack off to porn. Not even slightly exaggerating here. Hug their sons. My dad hugged my brother for the first time when he was 18 and graduated high school. Dad was raised by his parents to not show outwardly love towards his children because that would spoil us. Our childhood was odd. First and last time I saw my dad cry was when his bird hunting dog died, as he dug the hole to bury it in their backyard. The older generations were tougher, sure, but I know my dad would have benefited greatly from being hugged more as a child. That shit gets passed down. I saw a video of a woman saying real men don't eat peanut butter and jelly and I was flabbergasted. Real men never say no to sex. Sleep on their stomachs. Wear sunscreen. Once saw a woman on Twitter say something like if a man is too eager when the free bread gets to the table that's sus, and I was just blown away by that one. My former boss would die on the hill of real men don't use rolling suitcases. He'd sooner throw out his shoulder carrying a heavy duffel bag than ever be caught dead rolling a suitcase through an airport. Edit. Forgot to add he also thinks neck pillows are fruity and can't stand when men wear them around their neck on planes. Also, the comments about benefits of hiking backpacks, I don't think I ever saw him sport a two-strap. Fellas, is it gay to have even weight distribution on your shoulders? A guy at work described something his daughter did as cute and then some douche told him that men aren't supposed to call things cute. Not sure if it counts, but a young woman wouldn't sell me a Luna bar because it's made for women. I said no. It's marketed to women. But I like this flavor. She said I can't sell it to you. It has estrogen in it. We had a frustrating back and forth before I finally convinced her that I was willing to take the risk and she sold it to me. Real men don't lift under, insert weight. Everyone has to start somewhere, dickhead. I have been lifting for years, but when I see a new kid try lifting crazy heavy with bad form, I warn him it's a good way to get hurt. If they don't listen, then that's on them. Real men don't show their own children affection or accept affection from them, apparently. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. On behalf of all dads out there, I'm sending all of you a virtual hug. Every kid deserves to know they're loved. Use umbrellas. Eat dessert. Seriously. I was told it was gay to eat dessert. Because children and women like sweet things. Fuck you, Paul, I am going to eat this raspberry cheesecake. My friends once introduced me to this guy who was talking really loudly. I thought maybe he didn't realize how loud he was being, so I said, "You're a little loud." Dude said real men talk loud. Chicks like that. I did not like that. If you had to marry the first person you slept with, how different would your life be? I did. We just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. Given that the first woman I slept with is now a lesbian, I'd either be someone's beard or, more likely, still trying to recover from a divorce. He became addicted to crack and then jumped off a building due to his mental health downfall. He was a really nice guy otherwise. So, I guess I'd be a widow? I'll tell you in a few years' time. I'd be in prison for murdering my mother-in-law. I would be a widower. She was hit by a truck when she was 18. Edit. Holy crap. I didn't expect to get this much attention. To reply to a lot of you, no, I do not drive a truck, but thanks for the laughs. Terrible. She recently reached out to me after 25 years because she wants to cheat on her husband. She is a librarian in Norway. I am a lawyer in America. One of our lives would be drastically different. I did exactly that. It was amazing. Until I found out she was cheating on me with at least 4 other men, that I know of, it was probably more, over the course of a couple years. She left me for one of them and I finally came to terms with it last year and have begun feeling happy on my own again. Fucking miserable. Wait, you mean you don't have to marry the first person you sleep with? Oh man. Exactly the same. Edit. Thank you everyone who shared your own stories and asked sincere questions. While we married the first people we were intimate with in this way, I do want to share it wasn't exactly intentional and it isn't terribly important in our relationship. It's simply how things worked out. For some people it's really important, but if it isn't to you then I think that's fine. There isn't one cookie-cutter right way for a healthy and supportive relationship to form, develop, and be maintained. I think our longevity has more to do with both of us constantly working on our communication and self-reflection skills, learning to curb our egos or take space, and respect space, when we can't, and staying together because we want to, not because we feel like we have to. Being in a relationship wasn't a life goal, but maintaining this one has become one of the things most important to me. I think he's a cult leader or in a cult or something so very very different. Last time I tracked him down about 8 years ago he was doing these classes on spiritual healing using chakras and shit. This is after he failed out of chiropractor school. I actually did do that. Regret was the result. Mine was a rapist. So I'm guessing my life significantly worse. NSFW people who knew someone who died at work, what happened? A worker at one of my construction sites got flattened by a precast concrete wall, after it fell from the 3rd floor. Everyone who saw it just froze in place, except one elderly worker who ran around screaming, "Don't call anybody." Did he have a helmet on? Nobody answered him, so he got the crane worker to lift the concrete wall slightly and threw a helmet under the wall before ordering the wall to be lowered again. He did it to make sure that the insurance would pay out the full amount to the poor guy's family. Edit to respond to some questions. The older guy took a look when the wall was lifted to check for a helmet and tossed a helmet in when he couldn't see any. I live in Denmark, and I'm not sure how the insurance worked completely in these situations, but the dead guy's own life insurance would probably cover this accident. The company has an extra insurance to help their workers out, such as if you break your leg, the company insurance can help you to a private hospital and some rehabilitation. That extra insurance can be quite strict, that's why they made sure it looked like he had his helmet on. And yes, the guy definitely died instantly. No helmet can save your life from an 8 to 9 metric ton concrete wall falling from 1 m height. I worked at a supermarket in the mid-2000s. We were doing inventory prep one night and the store manager said he was feeling kind of weird. He went to sit down in the office and suffered a fatal heart attack. He was fairly young, late 30s, and in relatively good shape and was a really nice guy, so it hit a lot of us hard. The guy selected to be our new manager was very popular in the company and came in the next day to introduce himself. Seemed like a really cool guy. On the morning with what would have been his first shift at our store, he was killed in a motorcycle accident on his way in. Definitely the craziest work week of my life. He came into work, sat down at a table in the cafeteria, said he was tired, put his head down on his arms, and died. It was completely unexpected and it shocked everyone. Guy had the crown of his head sliced clean off when a hydraulic press suddenly decided to drop because they forgot to bleed the pressure before starting to do maintenance on the machine. A student. He was chewing on a cap to something while walking in the hallway. Ended up choking and died. Dude was hanging out in the break room cracking jokes. Laughed, fell over and was dead. Brain aneurysm. It's terrifying how fragile our lives are and how quickly it can end without warning. Might be a blessing as well though. He was an older guy and wasn't feeling well and went to use the porta potty. Ended up having a heart attack and passing while on the can. He was treasured in the workplace, and it was a big loss. I was locking up at the end of the day and saw brake lights flashing on the car of our welder while I was pulling out. I pulled back in to see if everything was okay. He was in the midst of heart attack. Ambulance was there in 3 minutes, but I watched him fade away in my arms before they arrived. He was a good man and is sorely missed. Construction site. A 30-feet concrete wall toppled over like a domino and smashed 3 people to death. It was my first job and fucked me up really bad. The lawyers of other subcontractors subpoenaed me and I had to go to court several times even after I didn't work there anymore to prove I wasn't at fault. I wasn't. In 2000 I was working with a road crew doing debris cleanup on the roadsides after a huge ice storm. Me and one of my co-workers had a system running that he would be on the roadside cutting and loading the trailer, and I would unload back at the burn pit. We'd meet halfway on the road, pull over, and swap vehicles to keep pace going. We'd been running hard and were super excited about how many loads we were getting, cause that was gonna give us a big payday coming. Anyways, we had been running that system all day with not a blip. On our second to last load, we met on the roadway, and he came over to my side to swap. We chatted for a second, and he realized he'd forgotten his smokes in the other truck, so he was gonna come back across the road with me and grab them. I saw a truck coming. It seemed further away than it was, I thought. He saw it too, but I guess not. I hesitated, and he turned and went to bolt across the road, hesitated, and then took a couple of steps and bam! He was hit by the truck, which was doing at least 50 to 60 miles per hour. Never, for as long as I live, will I ever forget seeing his body tossed into the air up over the back of the truck bed like a rag doll and slam into the ground. I will never forget that sound, ever. He was barely more than an arm's distance from me when he was hit, and I felt the impact in my bones. I ran over and sat on the ground and pulled him into my lap, and I could see he was gone. I just started screaming and rocking him. The guy that hit him had pulled over and come running to offer aid. He was gone, though. I think he probably died on impact, and I hope so honestly. I've been through some traumatic shit, but nothing tops that. I have PTSD from it. I'm scared to cross roads or to allow others to do so. Even writing this now, tears are streaming, and I feel panicky. I will never truly be over it. I don't know how someone could ever erase that from memory. But I sure wish I could. Rip Fred N. Edit. Thanks everyone so much for the caring comments. I'm sorry if I was too graphic. I don't talk about this much, so when I do, it tends to just pour out. I'm still in therapy, just not specifically for this. Even though it happened over 20 years ago, the details are fresh and raw in my mind when I recall it. It definitely made me have a greater appreciation for life and how an instant of bad judgment can be deadly. It made me more cautious, albeit too much so at times. I empathize deeply with anyone who's been through something similar. Thanks again everyone. Also, I can't fathom the trauma the guy who hit him must have. He was so nice, he sat there with us, trying to comfort me until emergency services arrived. I remember at one point he went and sat on the side of the road and put his head in his hands and just sobbed. He came to the funeral too, and watching him hug Fred's mom and her consoling him was so amazing. She didn't fault him at all. It was just a terrible accident, but I can imagine he felt guilty for a long time. I hope he was able to get therapy too and heal. Dude drove the forklift like an asshole. No seat belt. Took a turn too fast, and rolled it onto its side. He fell out as it rolled, and the super strong roll cage came down on him. Bar crushed his head against the solid concrete floor. It popped his head like a grape, pretty much right at eye level. Pretty much emptied his skull, eyes out, whole deal. The floor was a total mess. Coroner people collected what they could, but we had to spray the rest out of the building with a hose after they left and released the scene. Sprayed the forklift down too. Threw down a fresh coat of concrete paint the next day. That forklift was still there when I left that job. Work in the telecom industry. Had a guy I knew for a year or so, had been working in the industry for 12 years. He got lax with safety and would regularly go up ladders on utility poles without any kind of harness or safety equipment. One day he fell from the top, landed on his back on a concrete wall and broke it, ended up in the hospital but died a few days later. PPE is important. Do not get lazy and think IT can't happen. Deleted. My employee. They were my go-to person, a friend, and we chatted constantly even after we transitioned to work from home. Working late one night we were chatting on Slack while working and he disappeared. 2 hours later his phone texted me and stated, "This is XXXX's fiancé, I found him on the keyboard and he's dead. He won't be into work tomorrow. Please call me at XXXXXXXXX." I'm privileged not to deal with people in shock in my profession. That was heartbreaking and sobering. I'll miss him. My husband had a hemorrhagic stroke while we were at work. I clocked in a wife, and clocked out a widow.